Hi everybody, welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles. This is my tag team partner, Sam Moon.
Thanks, Fat You. Gary Rhodes, everybody.
This is our WWE show for the week. And let's get right into it. Our first segment has Vince McMahon versus Paul Heyman in a fight.
I like the fight, man.
I like Paul Heyman's interview.
Yeah.
The greatest moment in the history of Raw, to me, was Paul Heyman dissing the Cowboys and Tony Romo.
Right there in Texas. Gotta love Paul Heyman. You know, a lot of people say it's cheap heat, but Paul Heyman's a genius, man. He could just get heat anywhere.
When it's true, it's true.
He would have used to hate the Cowboys.
It's damn true.
I say.
They do a little bit of scuffling, which Heyman's about to, or Vince gets the upper hand, which brings out Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar comes down, and for Vince's sake, he's willing to wait the 5 minutes for Triple H to come to the ring.
I know, right? It's like, really, he should have ran to the ring or something. I don't know. It was kind of slow. Oh, I like the fight, though. I can't say there was color involved. So.
Now, I can't really diss it because Triple H has one of the great entrances in wrestling.
Oh, he does.
It's time to play the game.
It's time to play the game.
And like you said, he got Lesnar got busted open early. I think it wasn't a purpose. He didn't blade. It looked like he actually cracked his head on the ring post.
It looked pretty bad.
From what I understand, he got 14 stitches or staples later in the night.
Nice.
But it let it good. He hit the F5 onto the announce table. They did the spine buster. The only thing that was missing was the pedigree.
Yeah.
But I think it gave us enough of a taste. In that 5 minutes that they interacted with each other, I think they sold their match at WrestleMania more than Cena and Rock have all year.
Oh yeah, you get one of the best workers in the business is Triple H. A lot of people don't give him the credit where credit is deserved. They say, oh, he's just Vince's son-in-law. The man is an accomplished wrestler. He's one of the best technicians in the business. And I'm not just saying that because Bret Hart says otherwise. I'm saying it because it's true.
It's damn true.
Exactly. And I think that with the technical and the power, the technician and the power that Brock Lesnar has, I think this is going to be a better match than what they had at, what was it, Survivor or SummerSlam?
Yeah. I think it's a great opener. Got the show going. It basically foretold what was going to come. And what I think was a really great Raw, but we're going to get into that a little bit later as well. Now, coming off of that, our first match of the night was Ryback versus Ziggler. Now, the only thing I didn't like, I'm okay with Ryback squashing here because they've been putting Ryback off as so poorly, having him lose so much, that him getting a nice clean win off over a strong opponent, I'm okay with. After the segment with Lesnar and Triple H, the crowd seemed a little bit dead in this match to me, and that's the only thing that I took bad from it.
See, I'm high on this crowd. I like this crowd better than last week's crowd. But you are right. During that match, it was just like that was a high point. That could have ended a Raw. The Vince and Lesnar setup. It could have ended Raw. I mean, it was strong enough to. So I can understand the fans are going to be a little bit wore out after that and stuff like that. But it comes back up when Punk comes back up. Exactly,
which we have. After the match, the next thing is CM Punk doing his interview and comes out, hits on all those high points, sells the match with him and Cena, which we'll get into later, but didn't really need to be sold. The thing that came out of it is CM Punk called himself God, which seemed to offend Jerry Lawler because he brought it up all night.
You know what? CM Punk's doing a good job. You can't take everything personal. It's wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, and I've seen online people are saying, oh, I bet you the Christians are going to say something about this or whatever. I'm Christian. It didn't bother me at all.
It didn't bother me at all either. I mean, JBL called himself a wrestling god for years.
Exactly. You know, Triple H calls himself the King of Kings.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, it's wrestling, folks.
It's not serious, Glenn Beck.
Yeah, we'll get in that later on, too.
Now, after that, we had our vignette for the newest member of the WWE Hall of Fame, the celebrity member, and I think the best celebrity member to date, Donald Trump.
Oh, I have to agree with you.
I mean, he's done several angles with the WWE, And he was on board early in WrestleMania 4 and 5, helping promote the WWE when Trump Plaza was used for big fights. I mean, that's where they used to have Tyson fights. It put WWE on the same level as a Mike Tyson fight, which at the time was as big as anything else.
Well, you had WrestleMania 3 at the Silverdome, and you had 4 and 5 at Trump Plaza. That's saying something right there. You know, if it was elite enough to be in that, you know, if it's elite enough to be for WrestleMania, because there's only been 29 of them so far.
Yeah.
You know, having it twice in a row, that's saying something. Madison
It's
Garden.
the only time it ever did it twice in a row.
Madison's never done it.
No, but they've had more than anybody else.
Oh yeah.
But it was great. He's well deserving. Now, speaking of deserving, our next match of the night, a guy that was deserving to be in the Hall of Fame, the Great Khali versus Mark Henry.
So we go from the Hall of Fame to the Hall of Pain.
Exactly. We had the payoff from last week's segment where I was down on because Mark Henry walked away. Mark Henry won in dominant fashion. I rather enjoyed this squash. It fit well here. You know, it was a little bit of a lull in the show. This is what you needed.
The show of his power was awesome when he was walking around holding Khali before he did the World
That's what I do!
Is somebody going to get their ass kicked?
Something like that.
Or are they going to get their wig split?
I think Mark Henry's been booked really strong since coming back, and kudos to Mark for sticking it out this long. I mean, he's been in the business, what, about 16, 17 years now?
Well, 96 is when he signed his contract, so almost 17 years.
So, it took him a while to get to where he is now, and he seems to be staying where he is, and kudos to the guy. I mean, hard work does eventually pay off.
It does, man. I mean, he's well deserving of this push.
Exactly. Now, the next one, we have a guy that's not deserving of his face push because it's terrible, but a great segment. We had Miz TV with Alberto Del Rio and Ricardo Rodriguez, and Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter. Now, it ended up being more of Zeb Coulter versus Alberto Del Rio than anything else. But I thought that both sides came off strong. Zeb showed how awesome his promo skills are, which if you follow Dutch Mantel, that's one of the highlights of his career. And he was spot on last night. And then Alberto Del Rio showed a fire and a passion in him. It almost reminded me of the old school Hulk Hogan fire and passion when he would fight a guy like Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, I really was impressed with ADR last night with this segment. Coulter is awesome, but the thing I liked about this was if they tried this with any other guy, I don't think it would have went off as well. His passion, like you were saying, just spoke volumes. And then Coulter he did it right. Swagger didn't talk, and that's what he's there for.
I'm going to put you on the spot on this. Other than Stone Cold Steve Austin, once he became Stone Cold, do you think that Alberto Del Rio is the best face turn they've ever done? The payoff on it so far, I think Alberto Del Rio is already shot to being one of the top faces in the whole.
As far as quick as they did it, yeah.
I am so much more enthralled by his character as a face than I ever was when he was a heel. And he wasn't a bad heel, he was a good heel.
No, Stone Cold was a slow build to the face turn, though.
Yeah.
And, you know, like another one that really did a quick switch, but really wasn't able to handle it, was Luger. With the whole, you know...
Yeah, Horseman thing.
Well, no, talking about even when he was in WWF.
Oh, yeah.
When he went from the narcissist to the All-American Lex Luger. And I think I think ADR can keep it where Luger lost it.
I enjoy him. I think he's absolutely one of the best faces in wrestling. I think he's more suited to be a face, and it's showing more and more every time they put him out there. I like what they're doing with his character. I really enjoy his segments. I really enjoy Jack Swagger since he's been coming back. Which brings us to the question of the week from last week. We've had two guys that have returned, both around the same time, Jack Swagger and Mark Henry. Now our question was, out of the two men, who has impressed you guys more? Before we get into ours, let's give you some from our friends out there. First is from our friend Paul over at the Deadly Sins. The better comeback has to be Swagger. He returns to a huge title push. Too bad that comeback's going to get killed. Basically referencing the drug arrest. And then we got from Joshua Adams, 1044. For me, Swagger is making the bigger impact because even with the racial overtones, everyone is talking about him. Dutch is an awesome mouthpiece for him. Basically same sentiment. And the last is from Wethington 25. Swagger got arrested, push over, LOL. Well, as we've seen, and I think Glenn Beck, that I hit on a little bit earlier, has actually saved Jack Swagger's push, because as everybody knows, Vince McMahon loves nothing more than mainstream press. And the Glenn Beck feud has got them mainstream press. I think if Swagger's going to be punished, it won't be till after WrestleMania.
You got TMZ with the arrest, which is press. Good or bad, is still press. Then, like you said, he has the Glenn Beck. And honestly, the kid's money.
Yep.
With Dutch. I mean, this push with Dutch, I see them going far with it. I'm sorry, I stepped all on it. In my opinion?
Yeah, well, it's pretty obvious what your opinion is.
Oh, yeah, I'm going with Swagger. I mean, Henry's been around. I see Henry staying, but I'm really impressed with the Swagger's comeback, because Swagger was on the losing end, where Henry was still winning. He left right after he lost the championship. So I'm going with Swagger.
I'm going to agree with everybody. I think Swagger, no knock against Mark Henry. Jack Swagger has, and it's the addition of Dutch Mantell that has added everything that Jack Swagger hasn't had up to this point in his career. And I think that addition of him, Zeb Coulter, into the mix has made Jack Swagger, it's almost like when they would put a guy with Bobby the Brain Heenan. You know, Dutch isn't Bobby the Brain Heenan, but he is a great talker, and he is absolutely great in this role. The one thing I worry about with this character is it's going to be too one-dimensional. He only can face immigrants. You know what I mean? You follow what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. I don't know. I think...
I mean, hopefully they evolve it, and he'll face more guys like Randy Orton, CM Punk, John Cena. But
sorry.
I agree with everybody. I think Jack Swagger's more impressive.
But what it reminds me of was when JBL turned into JBL, and with his anti-immigration thing when he went against Eddie Guerrero. You know, it touched a lot of buttons back then, especially when he went and ran Border Patrol. You know, which was awesome. They could do something like that with this, and I think that'd be great. But they're trying more serious with this, and that's what I like about it.
Exactly. Now, on another serious note, our question of the week for this week is, who do you think, so far they've got, what, 5 entrants into the Hall of Fame? Who else would you like to see go into the Hall of Fame this year? Let us know what you think. Hit us up on our Facebook, put it on our Twitter, hit us down where?
Down there. Sorry, I had to do that.
Right down there in the comments. And we'll talk about that next week on our show. Now, coming off of that, back to the action, we had Antonio Cesaro versus Randy Orton. I thought it was a decent match. You didn't like the finish. I thought it didn't hurt Cesaro that bad, because everybody knows that Randy Orton can hit the RKO out of anywhere. And we've seen him hit the RKO on everybody and beat everybody with it. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it hurt Cesaro as much as you did.
Well, not that it hurt, but he didn't hit a lot of his spots. You know, I tuned in to see a lot of his spots whenever Cesaro was out there, and it was just really too quick, you know? This is my opinion.
Well, I think there was other things they wanted to get into.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is a stacked Raw. And
yeah, exactly.
Next week should be stacked, too.
Now, the next thing coming off of that was, I think, the low light of the night. We had Sheamus doing his Oscar snubs, which was basically a way for them to promote the movie that Wade Barrett's, and I forget what the name, Dead Man Down, is it?
Dead Man Down, or
something like that. The Wade Barrett's in, basically setting up a feud. The thing I'm confused with Sheamus, and we'll talk about that more in a little bit, is what feud is Sheamus in right now? Because they haven't defined it, and for a guy that's supposed to be one of the main event players, with WrestleMania coming up in 5 weeks, 6 weeks, shouldn't we know what feud he's involved in?
Yeah.
Just my opinion. I thought the segment was horrible. It wasn't funny. It was tried to be played as funny. Sheamus is not a funny character. He had moments that moments with Beaker were funny.
Yeah.
But other than that, not really a funny guy. I mean, it's nothing against him. He's a good wrestler. He's a decent...
His character just doesn't come off funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, someone that does come off funny, we had R-Truth versus Cody Rhodes. And I thought this was a really nice TV match. I like how it ended. The only thing that kind of was weird is it almost is setting up for a tag team match.
It is, and that's what gets you is like, you know, the whole Sandow issue. And the thing that irritated me with this, I know, is they're burying Cody again.
Exactly.
You know, this kid here, this time last year, Intercontinental Champion, one of the longest reigning. You know, going in to he beat the Big Show 11 months ago. You know.
Well, should beat him at Mania.
Well, should beat him at Mania, but he beat him the next night or the next pay-per-view, and really.
I know. And to me, it seems like they're trying to set up Truth and Kofi versus Cody and Sandow, which they just broke up Cody and Sandow, and they keep putting them back together, which makes no sense. Their tag team division makes no sense, which brings us to the next match. We had a little bit of nonsense, but this was comedy that actually worked. Team Hell No's in the back talking about, Kane says, I could beat him with one arm tied behind my back.
I could beat him blindfolded.
So Vicky overhears this, and Vicky and Brad Maddox change it to Daniel Bryan has to wear a blindfold, Kane has to have his arm tied behind the back, and they go up against the primetime players. I have no problem with the comedy in this. I have no problem with that aspect. The problem I have with this is the primetime players are a really good team, and they got beat by a blind guy and a one-armed man.
And I thought what's his name, Young.
Darren Young?
Darren Young. I thought Darren Young, I always get his name confused. I always thought I thought he had an injury. I thought
That's
he
what
was
was
5-6 weeks.
But it could have been just a minor injury that they overplayed.
They're an impressive tag team, though.
That's the only thing. I would have liked to have them win. As much as I'm a Daniel Bryan and Kane fan, separate and as a team, I would have liked to see primetime players win when the cards are stacked against Hell No.
Exactly.
I would have used this to further the break and have Team Hell No against each other at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
Now, speaking of some people that we should be seeing at WrestleMania, we had the Shield come out and cut another excellent promo.
Awesome. All of them did.
Yeah, they did really well. Basically, they said anybody that wants some, come get some, which brought out Sheamus, which drawn Ambrose and Reigns out of the ring, leaving Rollins in the ring for Randy Orton to hit the RKO. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier with the Sheamus.
Yes.
Not knowing, is he in a feud with the Shield? Is he in a feud with Barrett? Is he in some other feud? Or is he in everybody's feud?
Yeah, that's the thing. Whatchamacallit, who got the RKO again?
Rollins.
Rollins, sorry. Rollins actually really impressed me this week, too, with his interview skills. His interview skills got, so much better than what they've been before. Exactly. His mic skills, sorry.
There we go.
There we go.
They're way better than yours.
Right now, of course. Wow.
You sounded like Bubba Ray Dudley when he used to stutter.
Sorry, everybody.
No, you don't have to be sorry. They already know you're horrible. Speaking of horrible,
all around you, it makes me look better.
We had Miz again coming out against Jack Swagger. I thought it was an okay match for a sub-main event. It did what it was there to do. It put Swagger over. Miz's face turn. See, again, the thing that was a little bit weird is no one's buying the Miz face turn, so the fans never got behind him in the match.
Mm-mm.
Which, it's time to pull the plug on it because Miz's face turn is terrible.
5 more weeks.
Keep counting down, sucker.
Well, that's what I'm getting. Like I said, the DVD comes out in, 2 weeks?
I don't know.
3 weeks after that, and then he'll be back to heel as soon as they're done selling the 500 copies of it.
Well, speaking of a guy that's been in a lot of their direct-to-DVD movies, we had John Cena come out, cut his promo right before the commercial, which led to the main event of the night, CM Punk versus John Cena.
Man.
I think I'm going to go on record and say this is the best Monday Night Raw match since we've started doing this show, and probably, I would say at least in the last 10 years, I can't think of a Raw match that is this good.
I think this was Cena's first 5-star match.
Well, he had a few. He had the one at Money in the Bank against Punk.
This one was better to me, though. I like the outcome of the Money in the Bank, but of course better. But this one had to happen.
Yeah.
And we knew it was going to happen. Um,
I have no problem with him going over.
no.
They made both guys look good. Punk countered a bunch the attitude adjustment a few times. He got out of it. He got out of the STF. I mean,
well, I like how he hit the attitude adjustment after the Hurricanrana. It's something he wasn't expecting, so it caught Punk off guard. There lies your pin.
Yeah, it was very good. John Cena added a power bomb into his repertoire. Added the Hurricanrana, which it wasn't great. It wasn't the worst one I've ever seen.
No.
I've seen Ray doing worse than that, and he's pretty good at them.
Yeah.
CM Punk added the pile driver into his repertoire, which reportedly Vince McMahon wasn't too happy about, but it helped the drama in the match, and I think that's the main thing. I really think for all the people that say that John Cena's a terrible wrestler, he needs to put this video on and go here. Because it's not just CM Punk. There's two guys in there.
This was, like I said, this was Cena's best match. I think you even said it last night. As good as Edge was, Edge couldn't drag a match out like this with Cena. Shawn Michaels, and I'm a Shawn Michaels mark. Their match at WrestleMania 23
was a great match.
Was a great match, but I think this one was better.
Exactly.
I think this is Cena's best match.
I think this is absolutely. This is this generation's Rock versus Austin feud, Cena versus Punk. It's something they could always go back to. Mm-hmm. And they're always going to get good matches, and they're always going to get good stories out of. I wasn't, like you said, would I have liked to see CM Punk win? Of course, I'm more of a CM Punk fan than I am a John Cena fan. However, it was a fantastic match, and the storylines were told. It was tremendous. Now, before, was there something else?
Yeah, I was going to throw something else in there about this match here. Like I was telling you, there's one thing that was missing. That was the gong, because Taker did the house show. But I think next week that's when we're going to get it. And I think Vince had it in his mind that everybody figured it was going to happen tonight. So why not do it next week? You're building up, and I'm enjoying it.
Here's the thing that I think the gong would have took away from this match.
I think so too.
This was Cena's moment. Let him have his moment. He really deserved it after that match, and that's something that no one's going to say about Cena. After the match he put on, he deserved to be in the ring, be pointing at the WrestleMania sign, and get all the accolades, because he did. That was the best John Cena I've ever seen. Now, funny thing is, we got our rating system. We rate our shows 1 to 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. We'll go over this quickly so you understand. If it's a 1, that's a John Cena. Funny, we just talked about him doing good. 2 is a Big Show, 3 is a Sheamus, 4 is a Daniel Bryan, 5 is a CM Punk. What would you give the show overall?
Giving it a Punk.
I'm giving it a Punk too. It's a 5 all the way for me. The only letdown I really have in the show that I just didn't fit was the Sheamus and Barrett segment. Every other part of the show was tremendous.
Well, thankfully that segment was short. That was the best part of it. Is the length of it.
But everything else I thought was great. I think it's one of the better Raws I've seen in a really long time. Probably, and I said this to you last night. You didn't agree with me at the time. But I think it's the best Raw since Vince bought WCW Raw. Just my opinion.
It was a great Raw, but I don't know. I wouldn't go that far.
I think it was the best one since then. But that's my opinion, and I'm one man. I'm a one-man band, baby. But basically, that's all I got to say. Is there anything else you need to add?
That's it.
My name is George Coles.
Gary Rhodes.
And this has been Heel Heat.